Everybody, welcome to On the Nose. This is part two of hanging out with Frenchie, continuing the conversation. I think last week we were talking about motorcycles and modifying them and Maker's Fair and stuff like that. So we're kind of jumping in there at about there in the conversation. I was going to say something else and I totally forgot. But anyway, I hope you enjoy. Thanks for listening and all that stuff. And you can find information in the description for the episode, uh, relevant to the episode, things and stuff. Have a good week. Yeah.
My favorite car show here isn't really in Salt Lake. It's down in Manti, which is in central Utah, kind of the middle of nowhere. Um, Ed Big Daddy Roth was a custom car guy down in California. And in the 70s, he became a Mormon and moved to Manti. And that's where he died. And if you're familiar with anything that he did, it would probably be Rat Fink, kind of the anti
Yeah,
Mickey
that's what I
Mouse.
was visualizing. My dad used to like to draw based in that style. He would draw these
Yeah,
like trolls and stuff. He was really good at it. But that was like I grew up with my association being the stuff my dad drew. And then later I was like, oh, it actually came from something. Okay.
yeah. So
Yeah.
every first weekend of June is the Rat Fink reunion down in Manti, and my
Oh,
son
okay.
son and I have been down to it several times. We'll make the drive. It's a couple, maybe 3 hour drive
Yeah.
down there and see all the cars, and there's booths, and of course he wants one of everything. But it's a fun father son road trip adventure.
Definitely. Yeah. I used to take my son to conventions, like not Fanime. We didn't go to Fanime. We went to the no, we went to Fanime. We did not go to Comic Con. So I went to Fanime locally and then we go to BlizzCon and that was
Okay,
kind of
yeah,
our,
they have
you know,
Fan X here, and I'm surprised he hasn't wanted to go and meet some of these people from the shows he watches, especially The Walking Dead. He's big into that. And they've been at Fan X, is the thing they have here in collusion with Comic Con.
yeah.
I used to go to the comic book uh, festivals just because I'd be looking for things from my childhood that I lost, for
Yeah.
years and years, looking for. And I was more into the horror comics when I was a kid. I didn't even read superhero comics back then. I was
Yeah.
more into horror comics and weird comics like Plop. I was eventually been able to score most of those back, but more off of eBay than at actual comic book conventions.
Hmm.
Because people are lugging around what they know will sell, not some obscure thing that I want from my childhood.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I have one series on that entire bookshelf that involves superpowers and the it's called Powers and
Huh.
it's like very gritty and dark. It's not as dark as Boys, but it's pretty dark. It's not standard superhero stuff. I just am not that into that stuff. But
Yeah, I mean, I'd end up with them here and there, Silver Surfer, or, a Batman comic or something, but it was never what I went out of my way to buy.
yeah.
Now, Mad Magazine, yeah, I bought plenty of those.
I have some I have a few in my storage stuff from when my uncle was young. And like I I don't even understand the politics in it because it's from a time that I did not even live through. It's just, but it's still a lot of the
Yeah,
humor is really funny in it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I love when they send up movies, uh, do the Mad Magazine version of of a movie,
Yeah.
because I've usually seen the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to. I'll have to see if I can find those. I'll send you a picture. But I had some others that were superheroes ones that were my uncle's, and he left him when he went. He went to the Marines. But some kids like stole them. I we had the where my son was going to school at the time, there were these kids that were harassing him, and they broke into his school locker and stole the keys, our house keys, broke into our house and stole stuff or
Oh,
let themselves
wow.
into the house. We even told the school that they took the keys and all that stuff, and like nothing happened. But they also went through like the storage, some of the storage bins, and found the comic books, and boom, there they went. And I was like, well, that's a bummer because I was like, maybe I could sell them someday, but you know,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had some of those bubblegum cards from when I was a kid. I ended up selling a shoebox full of football and basketball cards for like $380
nice.
back in the early 90s when it was kind of at its peak.
Yeah. I have
Although
some pogs.
Pogs, I vaguely remember those. I think the problem with Pogs was that I was like 23 when the kids were collecting those.
Yeah.
So a little bit was a little bit past
Yeah.
the age group that appealed to.
I just like I never bought any. I just would find them. Someone left like a book of magic cards and there were some pogs in the back. So I still have all those cards and the
Well, they
pogs. And then it
were
was like,
everywhere
yeah,
for
so I just
like
started collecting
5
them.
years. I
Like,
there's probably some in here somewhere. I didn't get rid of everything out of this basement, and you know, my little brother or some of my cousins could have had them.
yeah, yeah. I should probably should go through that stuff at some point. You don't really need to keep it.
Oh, it's just such a job.
Yeah,
I've got boxes to go through and consolidate, and I've got a filing cabinet now. Yeah, I get papers in every single box has some papers and or like the instruction booklet to something, and they're just in every box. And like I
yeah,
need to go through and get those all put in the filing cabinet that I cleaned out. But it's
yeah.
just not something you want to do.
No. Yeah, when I owned a house, my stuff was nice and organized, and I had a system and filing cabinet. And then like when I sold my house and then I've since moved several times, it is just like I have continued to collect boxes of stuff, and I know that like probably half of it I just need to donate or get rid of. I don't even need to
Right.
keep it. But now I don't even know where like some of my important paperwork is,
Yeah,
because
that's
and I
where I'm
used to
at.
know where it all was, and I'm like, okay, well,
I'm
where's my
working
birth
with
certificate?
the mortgage guy, and he's all, I need the taxes from these years. I'm like, well, I got 2 out of 3. I don't know where that other year is.
Yeah,
It could be in the storage unit. So yeah.
yeah, stuff. And I also don't want to leave, like, I know that I'm probably many years away from dying, but I also don't want to leave like a ton of stuff for my son to have to deal with either.
Yeah,
You know?
my mom was born in 1928, and so she grew up with 10 brothers and sisters in a 2-room cabin with no power or running water. And so she never owned anything. Like everything was a hand me down from her older sisters, and never owned anything of her own until she moved here to Salt Lake in in the 50s, moved up here to live with her oldest sister. And that's the first time she had electricity and running water was when she moved here, started working for the phone company. And so when she started getting things, she couldn't let go of things. And there was so much stuff in here when she passed, because my dad
Yeah.
went first. If my mom went first, my dad would have got rid of stuff. But he went first, and then she just had so much. I mean, there were 4-foot stacks of paper grocery sacks. um every cookie tin that she ever got cookies in was down here. They were like cookie tins inside of cookie tins inside of cookie tins, and like, stacks 5 feet high, and old newspapers, and just so much stuff. And then she was a crafter, so she made all these decorations and stuff. And I kept some. I still put out her Christmas decorations every Christmas, and the Halloween decorations that she made, I've still got in here.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, when I moved in here, I kind of mostly got rid of all the stuff from the 80s, 90s, 2000s. And I brought out all the stuff from down here from my childhood, and I'm basically redecorating the house to like 1972 because it feels like home. I sit up there in the
Yeah.
living room with all this stuff that was hanging on the walls when I was a kid, and yeah, it really feels like home. And I feel like I feel my parents' presence around, because of these things from when I was a child.
Yeah. I could see that. I was gonna say something. I just totally brain farted. Good job, brain. Um, oh yeah, the thing with collecting like containers and stuff. So my ex used to do that, and I was just like, it'd be like, well, this could be useful someday. And I'm just like, no,
Yeah,
I can't.
yeah,
I cannot. You cannot keep like an ever growing pile of like to
that
go containers
that was
just
my
in
mom.
case.
And a lot of it was, that it could be used, and it could be she might have used those cookie tins. She might have put stuff in them and given them to other people.
Yeah,
But in fact, I know she did, because she would make candy every holiday season. She would make all this homemade candy, and she would put it in those cookie tins, on a paper plate inside the cookie tin, and give it to people.
yeah,
So
yeah,
they did get used in a way, but
yep.
probably just by one of her friends from around her same generation that also kept a
It's just
stack of cookie
added to their
tins in their
pile.
basement,
Their piles
just
just kept
trading them
going.
around.
Yeah. Yeah, I do have like for crafting stuff, the to-go containers and little jars for things are very useful. But
Yeah,
it's, I just keep like I keep the ones I'm using, and if I need more, at some point I will get more in some other way. Like I'm
yeah,
not gonna keep them just in
yeah,
case. It's also especially like I was already like that, but then like moving into an RV was like, it was so hard to fit stuff in there, especially with the crafting. The crafting supplies take up a lot of space. So
yeah, yeah.
I would have plenty of space if it wasn't for my crafting stuff.
We
So
had 2 yard sales. We had one yard sale for just our art supplies and craft supplies and fabric. My mom had sewed too. She had both kinds of sewing machines and could like make clothes and stuff. And so, there were thousands of bolts of fabric.
wow.
And, so we had a yard sale that was just like sewing and crafting supplies, and then another yard sale for everything else.
Yeah. I imagine the crafting one was pretty popular.
It was a lot of the stuff went. Um, we made, we almost paid for her funeral
Wow.
with with the 2 yard sales. There was
That's
just a little bit that my sister had to cover, and she'll recover my third when I buy the house. So
yeah. That's
she's kind of been floating me here because my ex bankrupted us, on the way out. That was ultimately the thing that said, "Okay, I'm done. I'm done. You
yeah.
bankrupted." We were debt free in 2016, and by 2018, you've bankrupted us. And I
That's
just
yeah.
that
Yep.
that was the last straw. So my sister has kind of helped me out a lot here, just letting me stay here for the taxes and utilities and whatnot. And there's a second mortgage on the house, and I just have to pay that.
Yeah.
I've been staying here, but now it's time for me to buy it.
Yeah. Well,
So
I'm glad that she's able to do that and that it's like worked out so that, you know,
yeah, I mean, she's had to pinch a little bit for it. They built a house down in Kanab, which is way down on the southern end of Utah, but kind of in the middle, not towards Vegas or not towards Colorado. But right along Lake Powell, if you've ever heard of that. There's a big lake
Nope.
down there, big reservoir they've put up down there. But yeah, she's got some property down there, and they had one of those prefab homes shipped in, and up, they both retired, and uh, they were hoping not to have a mortgage, and she's had a mortgage the last few years to help me
Yeah.
out. So I
Yeah.
can't appreciate her anymore for helping
Yeah.
me out. And she saved my brother's house too. So yeah, she
That's
has really helped both of us out.
yeah, that's you don't and you don't hear that about families that much. The families helping each
we
other. It's usually the opposite.
we joked around, we knew my mom was going for about a year. We knew that her heart was failing, and she's 91. You don't get a heart transplant at 91.
Yeah.
So we knew, and we would kind of joke with each other, the fight here isn't going to be, I want that, no, I want that. It's going to be, you take that, no, you take that. Nobody wanted all the stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Awesome
we kept the good stuff, but yeah, the cookie tins went, and
yeah.
and the stack of paper grocery sacks went.
Yeah.
I'm not going to reuse them. They're recyclable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was our joke. And yeah, we've been, it's time now. We got on a Zoom call and talked about price, and I got a I got an appraisal, and it's just insane, for this 65-year-old house.
Yeah.
Uh, in the condition that it's in, the appraisals, the real estate here in the Salt Lake Valley has just gone nuts, and wages are, you know, kind of artificially low in the valley. So they're just got a recipe for homelessness going here. People are falling out the bottom end,
Yep.
and it's crazy. It's getting to be, like California real estate prices at, Salt Lake City wages.
Yeah.
And
What's the minimum wage there?
uh I think it may have gone up to 15, but I mean, even that's not enough to pay for my house appraised
No.
for like $460,000.
Yeah. I mean, 15 is just, I mean, there's some places in the country you could get by on 15, but not many.
Like, are
Yeah.
you crazy? But of course, my brother and sister don't want, they're not going to have me paying the full appraisal of the house. It was just a starting point to figure out,
Yeah.
and we've basically decided to leave it in a trust, and they'll still have a share. So uh, if it gets sold outside of the family, like, I can leave it to my son, and it's still in the family, they still maintain a share.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do to keep it within a monthly payment where I can still pay for my son's therapy and stuff, you know,
Yeah.
because yeah,
Yeah.
that's not cheap either.
No. Yeah. No, any kind of health related, it's just not, it's insane.
Yeah, and
Like,
he's supposed to
just,
be in ABA therapy, and that's, they want to do like 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. I'm like, okay,
wow.
that sounds really expensive. Is
Yeah.
is my
That sounds
insurance going to cover
intense.
any of that?
Yeah, when I was I guess when I was pregnant or around then, we were looking to buy my ex's family had 6 acres, and half of it was owned outright by just my ex's parents, and then the other half was half owned by his aunt and his dad. And so we were looking to basically buy the aunt out. And we got like appraisals. We just got a random real estate guy who's familiar with the area to come out, and he appraised the property at how however much he appraised it at. It wasn't a lot because the house was a poor man's Victorian. It didn't have like a foundation. It was
Oh,
like
yeah,
he basically was like the house should be torn down. Um,
yeah,
and it's but you're basically paying for the property, and the area is a nice enough area that the property itself was worth a little bit. But his aunt went and got like a friend who works in real estate, high end real estate, to come out and basically have the place appraised for like 4 or 5 times what it was actually worth. And
yeah,
she would not like, you know, she would not listen to reason at all. We're like literally like, dude, we could go get like a whole bunch of appraisals and none of them are going to come back with
yeah,
what you
yeah,
just asked for. So we ended up buying a house somewhere else and
yep. Just,
there's like, get away from the family.
yeah, yeah. Family like that is, more like enemies. Who's that, huh?
Have
Who's that?
dogs. Is that the one that got the haircut?
Yep.
Yeah. Those ears. Are you dog sitting or it,
Um, well, technically my son's dog, and his mom ended up moving into a place where they have to pay $100 a month extra per dog,
and
and
they have the other two dogs?
they got the two dogs, so they're spending $200 a month on top of their rent for those two dogs. And so I've got pickles for the
Yeah.
foreseeable future, probably.
So basically you have another dog.
Yeah, yeah. But Diablo's 15. He's probably, he might have 5 years left, but he's
Yeah.
he will eventually join his mother out in the backyard there.
Yeah. That was
Okay, ginger ale, diet ginger ale.
can't do diet.
I
Just
got to watch my clownish figure. I can't just be, you know, when I shoot my show, I'm going to have a couple of alcoholic beverages, and I don't need to be adding sugar to the already dense alcoholic calories.
yeah. Especially since alcohol raises your cortisol, which makes it harder to burn fat. So that has like a
Yeah, it's
secondary impact, you know.
so I dropped, I'm down about 25 pounds from my peak. And yeah, last time I went to the doctor, it was like my blood pressure, my A1C. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Uh, my cholesterol, my triglycerides, everything was normal.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah,
I when I like when my ex and I first started hanging out like in 2017, he ended up losing 60 pounds because of my influence on his diet.
yeah,
And he no longer had to take high blood pressure medication. His cholesterol was normal. And then when I moved out, he gained it all back, and then his cholesterol was high. He got fatty liver, like all this stuff.
yep,
And now,
yep,
now that we're like living in the same house again, and my influence is there, he's already lost like 15 pounds or something, and
yeah,
his blood work's looking better, and just like
yeah. I've tried to get I got a buddy who's, I'm 6'1" and weigh like 210 right now. And I got a buddy who's like 5'10" and it's like 285. And
a
he's been
lot to
overweight
carry.
like that for some time, high cholesterol for some time. Now he's starting to have, the arteries in his legs roto-rooted, and he went in and got the top half scan, and he's got to have quadruple bypass surgery. And
Wow.
I'm like, dude, you're 56 years old. You can't eat pizza 3 times a week and have a cheeseburger the other nights.
Yeah. Well, and technically, so what they've been finding is if you eat like these processed unhealthy foods earlier in life, yes, if you change your diet and you start eating better, you do see benefits, but there are some detriments that remain. Like they found that there's a an association or whatever with eating processed food and memory issues, and that doesn't
Okay.
get better. And they're starting to figure out what the reason is for that, because they were like, we know there's a relationship, but we don't know the reason, and they're starting to get that figured out. And they're like, so you can eat really bad as a kid and it still fucks up your brain when you're
Yeah.
40, no
Yeah.
matter how well you ate in between, you know?
I can see that. And I'm worried about my son because he's so picky, with what he eats. And I try to, if we're going to go get fast food, let's at least get Arby's so that it's lean meat and not
Yeah.
just fat. I mean, it's full of salt, sure, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm eating much better now. I'm, um, I, I told you I made gumbo, from scratch, and I don't use any oils. Chicken. I even found chicken andouille sausage to put in it.
Nice.
So I got chicken sausage and chicken in a gumbo that's all vegetables and vegetable broth, or maybe chicken broth. But I'll eat that every night at work, and then I get salads to take to work, and that's what I eat at work. I'll get up and cook something and to eat for breakfast, and then I eat that. Whatever I make on Sunday, I eat every night at work.
Yeah. But I get like I get I get put off leftovers really quick, so I generally just cook like for today and then sometimes like 2 days worth, but it's rare that
I
I
can
do
only
that.
do 4 nights though.
Yeah.
So if I pick up an extra shift and I have to work 5 nights, I have to have two different things
Yeah.
because I can't eat it that fifth night.
Yeah. Yeah, I eat pretty well. I was like, before my health stuff in November kicked in, I was gaining weight like crazy and I couldn't figure out what was going on, because I eat well and I don't eat very much. And it's just like, I don't know if it's like hormones or whatever, but I was like, dang. And then my thyroid took all that weight off. And so I'll have to see, once that gets treated, if that other issue is still there or if it was related or
Or
whatever.
what's
Cause
going on?
yeah, because
Yeah.
like I even worked with nutritionists and they're like, well, we can't really teach you anything. You already know the stuff and you eat really well. And I'm like, okay, but what's happening?
Yeah. And I've known you for long enough now that I've seen you go through some of these struggles with the health issues and fighting with the doctors
Doctors.
and
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
It's been, this last decade has been party.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the red on the beard, is that like your hair color, or is that left over from the makeup?
That is dermatitis.
Oh, okay. I
That is my immune system attacking my own skin.
That's nice of it. I
Right?
literally, the one time I did
There's
red,
psoriasis.
ah, yes, the one time I did red makeup, I looked the same. So it like stained me for days.
Okay, so they kind of changed the makeup and it's not quite as red as it used to be, but it doesn't stain like it used to. It's
Okay.
like my finger, I started wearing gloves to put on my makeup because my finger was turning my white gloves red,
Yeah.
the one finger. And yeah, that stuff would have to wear off my face. So when I went back to work Monday night, I still had, red on my nose and on my face right here. But yeah, I had a beard for quite a while, and I've had to shave off my beard because all of a sudden this just kind of flared up.
Yeah.
And to keep lotion on it, I have to trim down the beard. But I mean, that makes the clown makeup easier too. Putting it on over even a short beard, kind of
Yeah.
messy.
Yeah, some of the clowns that I follow, that have beards, and some of them they work around the beard and some of them incorporate the beard. They have different, and I
Yeah,
just imagine getting the oils and stuff out of the hair would be a pain in the ass.
yeah, and I don't do the white grease paint. Um,
too much work.
Yeah, specifically because of that. I know there's other white makeups I could use, but I'd say, you know what? I'm an unemployed clown. I don't have a makeup artist anymore. The circus owns my old look. um, I'm just going to do what I can. And that
Yeah.
keeps it, keeps kind of even though I've got better lighting and stuff now, it keeps the show kind of homemade looking.
Yeah. It's cool that you have a persona. I don't have the imagination that works with doing personas, so it's like you have the other guy, he died, right?
Harold
The other
Bigelow.
yeah.
Um,
Or
we've got the last thing was I think out on Twitter I've talked about Sabrina Bigelow. His daughter has a tribute page to him on Instagram now. So
okay. So it's implied that he's
so
but
we're that's where we are now.
yeah.
They're trying to ID.
I should not like when I saw that one post from him and you had told me and I forgot. It just didn't stick. And I got so mad that he was being rude to you. And I was just I was like, what the hell,
That was
man?
fun. That made it more real, and that's what
Yeah.
I would do. I'll come on here as me, and I'll talk about Murph the Clown and how Murph the Clown came to be. But when I'm Murph the Clown, I'm Murph the Clown,
Yeah.
and I have my own history. I even started writing an autobiography during the off season. So,
That's funny.
um, and I think the greatest compliment that I've ever received, Nat Bradley, who's a sound designer and filmmaker, he's back in Baltimore. Um, he told he commented on one of my Harold Bigelow where I was talking about him, as Murph, and I posted it on my Instagram, because I got
Hmm.
two movies and then I need something else, two movies, something else. um, and he commented that he couldn't tell if this was real or if it was some kind of Andy Kaufman like prank. And I was like, I told him, Nat, I'm a philosophy major. Nothing is real. uh, but yeah, that's the greatest compliment that I've ever received, to be compared to Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, definitely.
That's kind of what we're
Yeah.
shooting for on the late night picture show. So yeah, if I come on again as Murph, I will be Murph, and I will talk about Murph's history. I have a sketch of his life story written up and in my phone. So
That's
Murph has
great.
his own backstory. He's been married two more times than me. I added wives for comedic effect. He's bound and determined that Patricia Arquette is going to be his sixth wife.
As have you watched Baskets?
Baskets. I don't think I have. Doesn't
It's
sound
got
familiar.
God, I can never say that guy's name. The guy that does Between Two Ferns, Zach Ganaf something. I don't know. He's a comedian, but he plays a like a rodeo clown, and it's very dry, and
Oh,
he's not a good person, and
okay. Yeah, I'm
it's
familiar.
well
I'm
it's well
familiar
done.
now. I
Yeah,
haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about now. Yeah,
yeah, I
Basket's the
enjoyed it.
clown.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those newer movies that I would probably watch.
It's a TV
Um,
series, so I think they're half an hour episodes.
okay,
Yeah.
and that's something that I struggle with. Um, I have friends that are like constantly binging this series or that series, including my son's mom. Is always binging a series, and I don't have time to binge a series. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the last TV series. Well, actually, I do. I went out of my way to watch Twin Peaks: The Return because I'm a big David Lynch fan. Um, but yeah, I'd see him with when we were together. I'd see him with her. I saw probably most Bones episodes and House and some other ones. Uh,
Yeah, there's some really good
CSI.
TV out there, but the stuff like House and Bones is like you just put it on and you do other stuff, and it's really good TV
I
for that
I
because
typically
there's
was. I was
yeah
doing comic strips at the time, so I'd be working on my comic strip and listening to Bones or House while she was
yeah,
watching it.
but it's yeah. I was like trying to think of like I can never remember stuff in the moment that I wanted it. I'll remember later, but there's some shows that have like because what I part of what I like about like some of the shows that I watch, especially like some of the British or European crime shows, is that they go way more in depth into the story than you would get from a movie, and that's the reason why I like
Yeah,
it. But I also
yeah.
like that they're like broken up into these chunks, and so like I can like watch one and then like come back whenever. I don't have to, you
And
know.
I can see that. I can see that. Um, I would have to watch it that way, watch a half an hour chunk. Um, I've got some DVDs upstairs that I've started, like uh I don't know if you heard my phone ringing, but I have the theme to Canon on my phone is my ringtone. And I actually have the whole Canon series from 1972 to 1976 on DVD, about halfway through it. But yeah, it's hard to commit to an entire series. I can commit to a 2 hour movie.
Yeah.
And to be honest, a lot of times I don't even get through the movie in one night because I'll start a movie and it's like, it's only 10 o'clock, And next thing I know, my son's like, I'm ready to go to bed. He wants me up there. So,
Yeah. You pause it and wait until the
yeah,
next
I have to
time.
watch it the next day.
Yeah.
And then, uh, you know, I like to have a drink or two on the weekend and, especially Friday night after working, 4 10-hour shifts or maybe 4 10s and a 12 or 3 10s and 2 12s. And, I'll have 4 or 5 drinks that have, 2 or 3 shots each in them. And I find at the end that I can't write up the movie. So I have to watch the whole movie again and have less drink so that I can remember what or know what the hell was going on.
Yeah. Or get a review of questionable content.
I have a few of those. There's a few that I've written up where I'm like, man, I must have been buzzing when I wrote this because like I can barely tell what some of these words are and like you know like here I must have went to backspace and just made like 50 L's instead. But yeah, that
I
that does happen on occasion. I'm never to the point where like I wouldn't be able to respond, if something was going on with my son, but
yeah.
I definitely, Friday night I'm like, all right, do you want an ice cream or anything? Do you want a shake from Arby's? Because once I start drinking, we're not going anywhere.
Yep.
I'm staying right in my recliner. Oh, pardon me. I'll go upstairs to the restroom, but I'm not going anywhere in the car.
Yep. It's good to establish that too, just for,
Oh,
you know.
carbonation.
Yep, I get you.
So, um, yeah, that's a hard rule. I turned 20 in what 1985, and back then, you almost didn't really think about having a few drinks and getting in the car and going for a drive.
Yeah, the
There
culture's
were
changed a lot
there
around
were
that.
ads there were ads back then, but like you still just didn't really think anything of it. But yeah, it's really changed a lot. Um,
Yeah,
and you know, having a child changed me a lot. So um,
definitely.
that just became a rule. You know, I'm not going anywhere once I. So, like I said, that one drink might have 2 shots of whiskey and like a shot of vermouth, which is like wine, and another half a shot of some flavoring.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
that
and
would
so
destroy me.
that's we're talking, you know, a 3 hour wait after I have that one drink before I can drive.
Yep. Yeah, my parents were they raised me to just be like no drinking and driving or anything like, and it wasn't that was not like a messaging that like my friends seemed to get from their parents. So it was like this thing where I was so adamant about it at a very young age, and other people would push against it because they're like, it's not that big of a deal. But like I literally like I have friends that will vouch for this, that like when they're drunk enough, they think they're fine to drive. And I'm like, no, give me your keys. And they refuse. So I punch them in the stomach and I take their keys. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I drive your car, like, and I've walked home because I refuse to get in the car with people, because it's just
Hang on a second.
refuse.
That wasn't a message. That was my camera saying that someone's in my driveway.
Oh.
So I'm going to look at that.
Spy on them.
I can actually it's actually pretty cool. I can like talk to them through it.
I used to have a net like a Nest. It was called something else before it was a Nest, and I would use it to talk to my dog when I was at work.
Oh yeah. If I had inside ones, I could do that. All of my cameras are outside, but yeah, doorbell, and it appears that there's like maybe a leaf or something on a spider web in front of it that it's picking up as motion.
Oh.
so false alarm. There's nobody in my driveway.
It's just a leaf.
I have that one set pretty sensitive because I like it to, you know, it's right up there along in my carport alongside the back door. So if anybody's there, I want to know about it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I had like a security light on my house when I owned a house, and my neighbors would use my driveway. So it did go off more than maybe convenient, but it also let me know to like stare at them from the window to let them know that I knew they were doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd ask them not to do it and they would just stare at me, just stay there. I was like, okay. I finally had one of my guy friends go out and be super like puffy and aggressive and be like, you can't park here. And then they stopped parking in the driveway, but they would park in front of it and block it.
Wow.
Yeah. I loved
Well,
my neighbors.
yeah. My neighbors are, it's kind of funny moving back into the house you grew up in because there's still neighbors that knew me when I was a little kid.
Ah,
So there's still a few of them around, you know, friends with my parents. I mean, most everybody along here knew my parents, but yeah, I know all my neighbors. There's some new ones across the street, but you know, with my son being as social as he is, we've, you know, gotten to know him already.
yeah.
And but yeah, uh the lady next door here moved in when her son and I were 8, you know, and we became friends. And he's back there living with her. Uh, he's all, I moved in here to take care of my mom, but all I'm doing is taking care of this old house. I'm like, yep, yep, same.
Yeah. Yeah, my son's basically doing that for his grandma, like taking care of the property and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's interesting that so where my grandpa lived, he lived there for 25, 30 years, like rented that entire time. And so we moved in with him when I was like 6 or 7. So the neighbors there all knew me, but by the time I was like 20, most of most of the people they'd either pass away or the properties have been like sold, and so there isn't any. None of the houses have the same people there anymore. Like, and that was true by the time I was like in my mid 20s, and it's weird, like, because most people I know who had like lived in a place that that like a stable place when they were a kid, there's still at least a couple people,
Yeah, I've got
you
I've
know.
got at least a dozen of what were younger couples. My parents married late and had us late. So what were younger couples, when I was a kid that are still around here. And it was funny, the next door over here, this is the second family that's lived there. But they've been there for 25 years probably. But the couple that lived there when I was a kid and grew those prize winning roses alongside the fence there.
Yeah.
Um, I just I just found it was just like maybe 4 years ago that she just died. Like the guy died in like 1984. Uh-oh, it's my boy again.
Okay. Maybe should I we could just wrap it up and then, I'll do my or do you need to answer now?
Yeah, let me answer. Yeah. So I have a few things. I don't know if I can show that one because it's Skeletor. I can show this one. Universal's old enough, but I think one. This is David Hasselhoff. I think one of the when I reviewed one of the Creature from the Black Lagoon movies, I kind of like acted it out with these toys. I don't remember which one it was. I did two of them as a double feature and one of them on its own the first season when I just did one movie.
It
So,
was like it was like a it's like a TV series for Swamp Thing in like the 80s.
oh yeah, yeah,
I think I remember watching that.
yeah. It was yeah, there was the Swamp Thing, the movie, and then there was a TV series. And I remember the TV series was um I guess a little bit environmentally preachy for the time.
I
Uh it was
guess
always
that makes
some
sense.
evil corporation moving in to pollute the swamp and he would
Yeah.
stop to it. Uh which was great, there was some of that in the 70s as well. You see it with in the monster movies, the monsters are typically either caused by radiation, and then by the 70s it started to be pollution, uh,
Yeah.
toxic waste and stuff that created the monster. So that's been a long running theme.
Yeah. I just remember a scene from RoboCop where the guy gets like the acid gets dropped on him, and then RoboCop like drives his car through him, and because the acid like sort of degraded the guy, he just like splatted, and that's like basically like the only thing I really remember from that movie is like guy splatting. I
Yeah,
liked it. I like rewound and played it several times.
I finished season, was it last season or season before last? Geez, so it's all getting mixed up now. I'm in season 5 at this point, and I typically run from. I premiere on Halloween every year. I run from Halloween till mid end of July, and then I take a break, work on other stuff. I do photography still. I don't do as much painting or drawing as I used to. Um, I don't have the time for the comic strips, even though I got hundreds of ideas, and I've got hundreds sketched out, that could still be done. It takes time to actually draw them on the iPad.
Yeah, I can't.
It's rather time consuming. So I've been doing some photography. I've been making some art cards, just, watercolor and pen, little trading cards, basically.
Nice.
just for something to do in between because the photography wasn't filling up as much time as I'd like. It's like when I first started doing it again, like film photography. Oh, pardon me. Um, like I had all kinds of people who were interested in posing, and I was doing
Yeah.
kind of witchy themed, like uh, magical kind of thing. Because film photography to me is kind of magical because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then additionally, I was scanning my own pictures with my phone and I was doing it wrong. I'm doing it on a light table instead of holding them up to a white screen on the computer. And
Hmm.
so I get cool effects from doing that too. And I just don't know what I'm going to get, until it's there. Um, well, I couldn't keep up with the film and developing at first. And then I get a good stock of film in and like nobody's interested anymore. I'm like, can't find anybody to pose. I shot, I reshot two girls I shot in 2021 in 2023. And yeah, now I'm pretty much just working with the one girl uh, as far as photos. And we started shooting, I did kind of a beatnik themed shoot, you know, uh, and I got about 6 pictures in, and the little mirror went up and stuck there. So now I got to
Oh
pay
no.
$150 to fix my camera. And
Uh,
I can't just get rid of it. I got this camera for Christmas from my parents for Christmas in 1979. So I can't just get rid of this camera.
what brand is it?
It's a Pentax K1000, the fully manual, got to adjust everything. Terrible
Hmm.
for snapshots at a party, but
Yeah.
great for like getting exactly what you want.
Yeah. I used to have like a whole Canon setup, and the camera was always in my hand. Like I was taking
Yeah.
pictures all the time, and my last job kind of just ate my soul. And I put the camera down, and then I loaned it to somebody who then never returned it. Said
Yeah.
he'd buy it off me, just ghosted me. So I no longer had the equipment. So after I sold my house, I got a Sony, one of the smaller ones, so it'd be easier on my hands. And it doesn't work with my brain the way the Canon did. It's just different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I find it very difficult to get things in focus when I'm doing it manually because it has a digital image. I'm not seeing like the real thing.
Right.
So my pictures are often not as sharp as I would expect them to be. And it just it's just been really hard to like motivate myself to like pick it up and use it because it doesn't I'm not getting better pictures off of it than I am my phone for part of it,
Right.
you
Right.
know? And
I've found that with a lot of the digital cameras. I've got a digital SLR, and Bo's mama and I, we kind of share it. Whoever needs it takes it. um, and it's a higher end, Nikon D5000. Um, and I can take pictures with that just like you know, it works the same with my brain as the Pentax, but
mhm.
um, yeah, you just don't get the same kind of, well, you don't get the grain. So what I did with my friend when my camera broke in the middle of the shoot, I finished the shoot. Well, I tried to bust out the Nikon and there was no memory card. I didn't have a memory card. So I finished the shoot on my phone, and I found an app on my phone that mimics different films.
Oh, cool.
And
So you get
it's
that
and it's got
effect.
hundreds of films that you can choose from. And so like I had Fujifilm 400 upstairs, and I took some of the photos that I took with my phone and applied that Fujifilm 400 filter, and it looks just like it.
Ah, that's cool.
Yeah, pretty awesome
Yeah.
the technology nowadays, and kind of saved a photo shoot that I only got 6 pictures out of.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I do eventually want to get a macro lens so I can take pictures of my Etsy stuff because the phone does not cut it for that at
Oh
all.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's just
When you
I
get
need the
like real
control.
close up on your little product,
Yeah.
you need a
Yeah, I need the control, man. So
yep, yep, you
someday
do.
someday I'll get that. But they're like $250, so not anytime soon.
Yeah. I'm gonna run the camera over and get it fixed one of these days.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking eventually as like I never really took pictures of people when I did photography. I would do like candid stuff. I occasionally did weddings for friends or whatever, but I always was like, I'm not going to do any posed. I'll just take candid photos. Um, but I was thinking one of the ways that I could get practice with taking pictures of people is just like offer to like people that I know locally that cosplay and do a lot and just be like, come let me take pictures of you. You don't have to pay me for it. And I get the experience of the practice without the pressure of trying to provide a service. And then if I wanted to share them or post them, I'll just have them sign a release or whatever. But
Yeah.
you know,
And I've a lot with this film project. I started back with film, been into the movement. So I'm taking really long exposures, you know, uh quarter second, half a second exposures and having them move or moving the camera myself to
yeah.
capture movement in the still shot.
My favorite thing to do is in a car at night when you're like on a road with, like at the 5 or whatever, is to leave the shutter open for like 30 seconds. And because you get like these strong streaks from the lights
Uh-huh.
of the other cars and stuff. And
Yeah.
I've gotten some really great photos from that.
Yeah. And I'm doing that with the people essentially.
Yeah.
So they aren't clear, sharp magazine type photos. They're photos with a lot of movement and maybe they got two heads somehow because
Yeah.
they paused here and here while the shutter was open. So,
Yeah.
but that's what
That's
I'm
fun.
aiming for.
It's fun. I should probably wrap it up. I'm
Yeah,
getting tired.
I'm gonna have to go up and get my cord to shoot my show.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
let me do my little
outro.
outro. Yeah. All right. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us and listening and stuff. Check out the episode description to, you know, find content and yeah. That's it.